Okay. Again, hi everybody. My name is Noah. I'm one of the educators with Shortcuts, and this is our Tuesday classroom session. Now, as with other sessions, we are recording this, so in case you can't stick around, or if you want to see a copy of the recording later, we will send a copy of the link. Now, we are doing some of our advanced presentations. So in this case, we are talking about attendance, schedules, commissions. So we've done a basics class and now we're going to do sort of a deep dive into it. So as with other sessions, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Again, we are recording, and if you have any questions after the fact, we will have some time for questions. And of course, if you're watching this video recording online a little later today or sometime this week, you still have the ability to reach out to us, whether you have a question for me or a question for our help desk. We will get back to you. So today's focus. So we're going to focus specifically on commissions. And if you've already set up commissions or the pay rate or the hourly for your staff based on our original basic section, what's different about this one is we're going to start talking about bands. We're going to start talking about extended commissions, whether you're doing deductions for product cost before you give your staff a commission. How does that work? How do you set that up? And then, of course, so deductions, fallback wage. So the Shortcuts does have the ability to calculate whichever is greater, whether it's an hourly rate or whether it's commission based. And this is what's called using the extended commissions report. So that's going to be our focus for today. So let's do a quick review. So in Shortcuts, by default, this doesn't require any special plugin. If you are a salon or a barbershop or a spa that has a single commission or multiple commissions, you would actually create what's called a commission schedule. So if you go to schedule a commission, this is available under setup. Usually when you go to the employees, you would go to the schedule button where you normally enter the staff hours for that week. At the bottom, there's also the ability to add a commission schedule. So by default, there are no commissions in Shortcuts. You have to create them. When you press New, Shortcuts allows you to give this commission a name, whether you call it Junior Stylist Commission or Commission 1, whatever it is. And then you tell Shortcuts what are the bands. So the bands allow you to create different percentages for different amounts. So for example, if from $0 to $200, the staff gets a 35% commission. And then from $200 to $500, they get a 40% commission, etc., etc. That's what the band system allows you to do. Or you can just say it's a flat rate. So it's a 50% commission, whether they make $1, whether they make $1,000. It's always a 50% commission. And I'm not just going to discuss it, I'm actually going to show you how to configure that. Once you set up your bands, you have to make sure that you tell Shortcuts which staff members should get that commission. So on your staff page, there's actually a pull-down menu that says commission. And when you select that pull-down, it shows you the bands that you've created, and it allows you to assign it to the staff member. So let's actually look at what I'm talking about. So I'm going to get out of the presentation for a second and go right into Shortcuts. So if you haven't configured it or if you haven't looked at it in a while, follow along. You're going to go to Setup. And once you're in Setup, you're going to go to Employees. At the bottom of the screen, you're going to go to the Schedule button. Now, by default, Shortcuts is, of course, thinking I'm entering a schedule for a staff member, but instead, I'm going to the Commission button at the bottom of the screen. Now remember, Shortcuts doesn't have any commissions by default. So if you're configuring Shortcuts for the first time or you're configuring commissions for the first time, you have to press New to add a new one. Now in my case, I've already created 3 distinct commissions. So let's actually review them. On the very first commission, I actually told Shortcuts this is sort of the 50% scenario. So in this case, I told Shortcuts from $0 to infinite dollars. and I denote infinite dollars by just entering a bunch of 9s on the screen. The staff will get a 50% commission. Now, I also give the staff a commission if they upsell any retail, so I give them 5%. Once I enter that on the very first line, I can ignore the other lines. Then I would press done and save my changes. So that is my standard commission. So what are my other commissions? So I created an alternate called Commission 2. In this case, this is the band system. So from $0 to $800, the staff gets a 45% service commission. From $8 to $1,200, it's 50%. And anything from $1,200 to infinite dollars, it's 55%. And for all three bands, it's 5% for retail. So it depends on how your business is, how your pay rate is. You're welcome to use up to 5 separate lines or 5 separate bands for your staff. Now, the third column is sundry. So remember, sundry is any income for your business that's not exactly a product, not exactly a service. So an example of a sundry would be if you were selling gift certificates and you were giving the staff a commission for the gift certificate sale. That would be a sundry. Now, these are the 2 bands that I have. The third one, front desk. So let's say I have a front desk staff member and I actually pay the front desk hourly, but I would still want to give my front desk person some sort of commission if they upsell retail. So from $0 to infinite dollars, I actually get my front desk staff 15% commission on any retail they sell. And of course, since they do not perform services, I can leave that set to 0. So once I create my bands, then we need to tell Shortcuts which staff members should get which commissions. So on the main window, when you choose the name of an employee, on the left side where it says pay details, this is where you mark one of the 3 bands that they should receive. Commission 1, 2, or my front desk. Now, if somebody is an hourly person, so Stevie actually does both. Sometimes Stevie cuts hair, sometimes Stevie runs the front desk. So at the bottom, I can say hourly rate is $12 and technically Stevie is front desk. So Stevie gets 15% commission on retail and the hourly rate is $12. Once I press save, now Shortcuts knows what those settings should be. So this is by default for any version of Shortcuts, whether you're on version 7, version 8. The buttons may look a little bit different, but the commission structure, the commission setup is the same across all versions. So let's go back to the presentation. So what about dealing with levels? If you're a bigger salon and you have a broad number of staff members with different levels of experience, different efficiency times, then you want to create a level system. So it depends on your business. You could have a junior stylist, a senior stylist, a master stylist, or a junior barber, senior barber, or a nail technician or an esthetician. And these people should be paid different amounts for their services. Not only that, but these different levels could take different amounts of times. So a senior barber, for example, is very efficient. They can cut hair, men's hair, usually faster than a junior. They can do shave services faster than a junior. And of course, time is money. We want to compensate them for how efficient they are. So they usually charge a little bit more than a junior or even an apprentice. So to make sure that my staff has the correct levels, I can create a level system in Shortcuts. So on the same window I was in, set up employees. If your business has a level system, you want to go to the level button and press new. And you can create as many levels as you have. So again, junior, senior, master, estheticians, nail techs, whatever it is, just to tell Shortcuts these employees charge a little bit more or have a different time to perform their service. And then you're going to tell Shortcuts which staff members belong to the system. So again, let's take a look at it in the actual Shortcuts. So we're back on the employee screen. So if I need to tell shortcuts, okay, so I have different levels. You're either a junior or a senior in my business. So how did I create these? On the bottom, I'm going to go to the levels button. So just like the commissions, there are no levels by default in shortcuts. You actually have to tell shortcuts which ones your business uses. So in this case, you would press new at the bottom of the screen and give it a name. So I created 3 different ones: junior stylist, senior stylist, and do not book. Whenever I mark somebody for do not book as the level, then that's usually a receptionist. That's just to ensure that this name not only does not appear on the appointment book, but it never even appears in the walk-in manager. It never appears for online booking. And I'm ensuring that any new staff that I hire recognizes that this employee is in my computer, but under no circumstances should they ever be booked for a service. So this is sort of security on my side. But normally, you give your staff a level, and you can even color coordinate it. Those colors will sort of tint the picture at the top of the screen on the appointment book. So once I create my levels, I'll press done. And on the main screen, on the left side, if Stevie, let's say, is running front desk, I can set him to do not book, and I can take away his position on the appointment book. So I'm trading Stevie from cutting hair to just being front desk full time. So I'm setting him to position none and his level do not book. And I can even take away available for online booking under the appointment book options. Once I press save, then those changes have been adjusted. Now, of course, Stevie is one of my test employees and I have appointments for him, so I don't necessarily want to change it. I'll give him junior stylist instead, and then press save. So you would go through your list of staff members and tell shortcuts what commission do they receive and what level should they receive. So now that they have a level, now that they have a commission, if you need to tell shortcuts that a senior stylist charges $2, $3, $5 more for the same service as the default or the junior, then we need to tell shortcuts. To do that, on the right side, we are still under the Setup tab, but we're going to the Service button. So in Services, I'm going to go to the Haircut Services. And let's say men's haircuts. So my business tends to deal with a lot of men's haircuts, but I want to make sure that my seniors get paid a little bit more for those haircuts. So I will select the service and go to Details. Now for my business, the default sale price is $33. So that's fine for a junior stylist or a default stylist. But if somebody gets a senior stylist, that should actually be $37. Now notice I do not have to hit save because if I switch it to any other level, shortcuts will autosave my changes. Also, if a junior stylist actually takes a little bit more time to perform the haircut, I can set the junior stylist to 45 minutes. And again, I don't have to press save. As soon as I return back to senior stylist, you'll notice the haircut time is 30 minutes and the price is adjusted. And if I go to junior, it's 45 minutes and $33. So depending on the breadth of experience for your staff, you'll want to make sure that any levels you create have the correct time and price set for them. Now for default, you might want to go with the bare minimum time and price for anybody. So now let's return to the presentation. So those are the standard commissions and the standard level system in shortcuts. You do not need anything special when you're configuring that. So please review it if you haven't reviewed your setups in a while and make adjustments as you need to. The next portion is a little bit different. This is what's called extended commissions. Now, extended commissions is an add-on to Shortcuts. This is not included by default with your regular packages. And if you have extended commissions, I'm going to walk through configuring it. And if you're interested in commissions, or extended commissions, please follow along, because we're going to talk about the advantages of having something like extended commissions. So on Shortcuts, when you get extended commissions, you actually have a new app that's on your computer. It's a standalone separate from Shortcuts, but it does communicate with Shortcuts. The majority of your configuration actually takes place in the third column, and that's based on my experience with the salons I've helped configure this. So let's start by talking about the bands button. Now, in Shortcuts, just a moment ago, I showed you how to set up a commission. So I had two examples where the first band is just a flat 50% commission for all services. The second commission schedule I created was the 45%, 50%, and 55% one, depending on how much money they made. If you have already created different commission levels in Shortcuts, you actually have to recreate those in extended commissions. So extended commissions doesn't just automatically copy over the numbers you placed. You actually have to launch it. And in the third column at the bottom, you're going to press bands and recreate your commissions. So I would recreate my 50% commission and then my 45, 50, 55% commissions. And the configuration is a little bit different. I'll show you in just a moment. Once you set that, the advantage for extended commissions is you also have the ability to set a fallback wage. Now, in Shortcuts, if Andy was working front desk and also cutting hair or also getting commissions, if I were to run the employee commission wages report, then Shortcuts will actually show me this is what Andy's hourly rate is, and this is what Andy's commission is, and it would give me the total. So it actually adds both of them. Well, if you prefer to pay your employee by whichever was greater, whether their commissions were greater or their hourly was greater, you have the option to set that in extended commissions. Or you can set it so that it includes both of them and it adds them together. So again, it depends on your business. It depends on what commissions you set for your staff. This is a feature that is not available in the regular commissions. You have to go to extended commissions to enable this. The other advantage for extended commissions, if your salon or your spa, you deal with a lot of product, cost, colors, chemicals, treatments, whatever it is, and before you give your staff their commission, you actually need to deduct anywhere from $1 to $15, depending on the chemical cost for the service, then Shortcuts actually allows you to do that. Not only that, it allows you to do that based on the levels that they have. Because usually the junior stylists, unfortunately, they're still learning the ropes, or the apprentices. They sometimes end up using a little bit more product than they should once they hit that senior level. So because of that, you're going to perhaps say their deduction should be $7 instead of $5 before I give them their commission. So you can actually choose it on a per service basis. So this service has $3, this service has $5, this service has whatever. Or if you prefer, you can set it on a percentage basis. So some services can be 0%, some will be a 2 or 3% deduction before their commission is calculated. Now, everything I'm talking about, I will actually show you on the extended commission screen. So I don't expect you to just memorize the screenshots. You'll actually be able to see it in action. So let's take a look at it. So we're going to jump into extended commissions. Now remember, extended commissions configures outside of Shortcuts. And the majority of the features I was discussing happen in the third column. Now there are many other options here, but I'm going to focus on the most popular based on the sites I work with. So at the bottom, the very first thing I do is I recreate the same commissions I have in Shortcuts. So if you remember, my front desk commission is actually $0, 0% for services, However, for retail, from $0 to infinite dollars, it is 15%. So this is where I enter the numbers. So notice the from and to actually goes from one column to the next column. Or I'm sorry, from one row to the next row instead of column to column as it is in the standard shortcuts. For commission number 1, that's my flat 50% commission. So from 0 to infinite dollars, it's 50%. For retail, from 0 to infinite dollars, it's 5% for retail. Now commission number 2. This is my bands. So it goes from 45 to 50 to 55%. So I would say from 0 to $800, that's 45%. From 8 to $1,200, that's 50%. And anything above $1,200, they should get 55%. So again, I recreate the commissions I have in shortcuts. Let's go ahead and hit close. So those are bands. In the middle of the third column, there is fallback wage. This is where you tell shortcuts, should my staff get both their hourly and their commission when I run the report, or should it be set to whichever is greater? So depending on which commission the staff qualifies for, I want to make sure they have the correct fallback wage. At the top of the screen, remove the cost of a service. So in the third column, if I need to do deductions on chemical cost before a commission is calculated, I will press yes. And I will tell shortcuts, for my junior stylist, I need to charge chemical cost. So if I go to any one of my color services, half head highlights, for example, let's say it's a $5 deduction. So I would say $5 for that, and I would save my change. And I would just continue on through the list, make my adjustments, and then save my changes. Now, you do not have the ability to mix and match your deductions. So you can't say some services are a dollar amount, some services are a percentage amount. Whatever you set it to, and this is on the right column, type dollar versus percentage, whatever you set it to applies across all services. So just keep that in mind if you're configuring extended commissions. So I'll make my adjustments for my junior stylist. Once I've saved those all, I'll then go to my senior stylist and again, recreate the deductions. So in this case, they still use about the same amount of product, and I'll just go down the list and make my changes. So the third column really is the one that handles the majority of the configuration. There are additional things you can set. So if you have, let's say, what you would consider a technical service, a color or a chemical service, and the staff should actually get a greater commission for doing anything technical, this includes extensions or treatments, then you can actually tell shortcuts, I'm going to have a chemical band instead of a sundry. So when you're setting up your bands, you can actually have a column for chemical. So let's say haircuts, men's, women's, children's haircuts, that's a regular commission. So my staff would get 50% on that. But if somebody does a chemical or a technical service, I'm going to give them 53%. So I can actually create a separate chemical column just for those special services. So keep that in mind. Again, depending on your business. On the fourth column, this is possibly the most overlooked column that anybody that uses extended commissions should know about, and that is banding type. So by default, the way Shortcuts is configured in the standard point of sale is you have cumulative versus target. So what cumulative is the way that Shortcuts normally calculates a commission. If you remember on my demonstration, I have commission 2, and that's the 45, 50, 55% commission. So if an employee sells over $1,200 worth of services during their pay period, you might assume that they get a 55% commission on everything that they did for those $1,200. That's not necessarily the case. Shortcuts will give them a 55% commission on anything above $1,200. So if they sold $1,201 worth of services during the pay period, they would actually get 55% commission on that $1 over $1,200. The rest would be paid out from $800 to $1,200. They would get 50% of that. And from $0 to $800, they would get 45% of that. So Shortcuts will add the 45 plus the 50 plus the 55. Now, instead, if you would like to give your staff their commission based on hitting their target, so if my staff sold $1,201, then I want to give them 55% because they hit their target. Then I would change the banding type on the right column to target. So again, it depends on your business. It depends on the way you set up your commissions, your levels, which one you would prefer. Cumulative is the one that is default in Shortcuts, the standard commissions. Target is the feature that is available in extended commissions. Of course, I would hit save, and then when I run my extended commission report, it would remember these changes. So let's go back to the presentation. So these were the settings I was talking about. Target versus cumulative. The other things to look at is when you run your extended commission report, do you want to calculate it on a weekly basis or whichever period you select? So whether you select a 1 week or a 2 week range and you want Shortcuts to calculate it based on the range you selected instead of just 7 days at a time, you can set that period. Should the report use the logged hours that your staff actually clocks in and clocks out for, or should it base their time on what the rostered hours are in the schedule? So again, these are settings you can set in ECR. So we've taken a look at standard commissions plus extended commissions in Shortcuts. We've talked about the band system in both. And in ECR, you should now know about setting fallback wages and about enabling deductions. Now, before we open up the floor for questions, I'm going to talk about the report that Extended Commissions uses. So I'll get out of the presentation one more time. So most of you are familiar with the standard commission and wages report in Shortcuts. So we would go to Tools and Reports, and on the left side, the default one is under the Employee category, and it's Commission and Wages report. So if I view it, now since this is my test database, I think I have transactions. I'll go back a couple of months just to be safe. So I'll look at my transactions for the month of January, for example. So I'll set my date range for that. From the 1st through the 31st, view. So this is the report that most of you are familiar with. Everybody has a one-page breakdown of what their commissions or what their hourly was for that period. So if I decide instead I want to run my extended commission report, that's a separate report, commission wages report, extended. Again, you do not see this report by default because extended commissions is an add-on service to Shortcuts. So if I view it for the same date range, January 1st to the 31st of this year, the report looks a little bit different. So it's actually going to group everybody on a single page, and it's going to show me the totals on these columns. And if I select the staff member name, so if I actually click the word Andy here on the first column, it will actually show me what the deductions were for the services he performed that month. And at the bottom, it will even tell me what the percentages were for service versus retail. So 50% and 5% for retail. So keep that in mind. It's a completely separate report from your standard commission report. So let's go back to the presentation one more time. So now, we're going to open up the floor for questions. So The people that showed up today, Taylor and Teresa. Do you have any questions on what we've talked about? And you're probably reviewing this if you don't already have ECR. Something to think about. And of course, if you're watching this video after the fact and you or your business is interested in extended commissions, then you can always reach out to our customer care team. So this is something that works with version 7 and version 8 of Shortcuts. So let's actually look at that. So if you want to get ECR, or if you need help configuring it after the fact, let us know. So here's our customer care line. And of course, you can also reach out to us if you already have ECR and you want to double check a setting. You can reach us at education@shortcuts.net. And of course, you can also ask us questions on social media. So if you reach out to us on Facebook or on Instagram at Shortcuts USA, then we'll be sure to get back to you. Now I'm going to double check to see if I have any questions. I don't think I do. Okay. Well, thank you all for attending this classroom session. And of course, we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the advanced features and shortcuts. So be sure to tune in on Tuesdays, and we'll be discussing other advanced features. So thank you all again, and I look forward to seeing you on the next classroom session. Have a great day.